Welcome to Triple M NRL Daily on your Monday. It's going to be the Shane Flanagan edition of the show probably today, boys. It's Jimmy Graham, Wade Graham, Charlie White here. But how's the weekend, fellas?
Pretty good, mate. I had my young bloke's birthday party yesterday, so my missus did a great job, actually. It was a Pokemon theme, so we were out there catching Pokemon. Got to catch them all, Jimmy.
Was that on the Pokemon Go? Is that the
no,
kids still
no,
playing
she
that?
actually did it like analog way, old school. Like we hid Pokemon around the house, and she had clues to go and find them, and then we had pin the tail on the Pikachu. There was not a pinata thing, but like a Pokemon version of that. So yeah, a lot of fun. So I didn't catch a lot of the Sunday footy, unfortunately. I watched a bit of the highlights, but as you said, today's probably going to be dominated by the Dragons and the departure of Shane Flanagan.
Did you dress up as a Pokemon?
No, I didn't. But the kids did. They had all shirts. They painted themselves, the hat. You know, they all thought they were Ash Ketchum. It was good fun.
Jimmy, mate, you're coming in here after running 114 kilometres on Saturday.
Yeah, just normal Saturday, I guess. No. It was a great event, Sydney Backyard Ultra. Pushed me to my absolute limit. Couldn't have gone any further. What a great event. From the Cadence 180 crew that they put on there. Got to listen to the Saturday scrum as well. So tell you what, you've got plenty of jobs. I've got plenty of jobs. Well, Wade Graham, what about the audition? The audition for the Rodeo Tourist Board. Like he went on Friday. He was talking up. He's like, I don't know if there's tickets still available, but if you're looking for something to do, get down. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. I want to keep running, but if I pull up injured, I'm going down to the road there. Wade Graham completely sold me. It's not really my cup of tea, that sort of stuff. But Wade, you're salesperson of the year.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't really my cup of tea either, Jimmy. Like I've been to the PBR before in the city, and great fun. Like so much respect for what they do. It's pretty incredible. But it was my wife's idea. She's seen it pop up on, I don't know, somewhere. And she said, let's go out to the Sydney Rodeo. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then what sold me was at Blacktown Showground. So my parents live 5 minutes away. And I was like, yeah, right, we'll make a day of it. We went out there, had lunch with mum and dad, and then we took the kids. And I was blown away, Jimmy. Honestly, I might reach out to them because I'll go back every weekend if they do it like they did last Friday night. It was so much fun.
On the Ultra Marathon, it's still going. So we're there 52 hours in now, 6 runners are still going. That's insane. Like, how long do these guys go for?
Well, I think that the world record is over 100. So that is over 4 days. And it is a last person standing competition.
So they keep running? So you did 114 Ks, but the ultramarathon is what is the competition? Who runs the furthest?
Who keeps going?
Really?
Yeah, so 6 people still going.
The way it goes is, Wade, you've got like a lap to do every hour. You got to complete a lap. And then you got to be back at the start line to go again. So it's almost like it's almost a beep test.
Yeah, okay. So if you run that lap in 30 minutes,
you get 30 minutes off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you run it in 58, you've got 2 minutes to get back and go again. Otherwise, you're out.
Okay. And then so there's guys still going.
I was thinking that I started, and then on Saturday, it was Saturday morning like everybody else, 8 o'clock. I was like, geez, Monday we'll be at work. So no, I wasn't going to go that far, obviously. I was like, Monday we'll be at work and these guys will still be here. Mate, the setup was incredible. Like the admiration for these people to push themselves like to the level of detail, beds, like because you've obviously got to try and get micro sleeps in there. Yeah. So and you what you can't do is do a quick lap and then start late and complete it. And you've got to be at the start and corral on the hour every hour or you're out.
I'm sure this bloke who's been doing the live stream has been like taking breaks, but every single time I've looked at the YouTube live stream, it's the same bloke talking into the mic. Like
Alex,
this bloke, surely.
Oh yeah.
He's still going, and it's like every time I click on it, he's just in the corner talking away. I'm like, this bloke can't just be live streaming this whole time. You can't be 52 hours into a live stream.
Well, Charlie, you know all about a good bender. So
yeah, I know.
The old you.
The old me.
75 hard. You've completely changed your life.
It is. I had a few beers on Saturday.
I
had a few.
Welcome back.
Had a few glasses of red wine as well.
Nice.
Did you get to Liquorland?
I did go to Liquorland.
Yeah,
because they are legendary, Jimmy. And I chose to drink wise as well. So thank you to Liquorland for that.
Should we talk some footy? Or?
Let's talk some footy. Biggest news of the weekend, of course, Shane Flanagan sacked this morning. Whispers started to come out last night. Now, at time of recording, they've done a press conference. and no interim head coach has been announced. But let's first talk about Shane Flanagan. His time's over at the Dragons.
Yeah, listen, for Flanno, obviously I have a great relationship with him, but Lancaster in the press conference made a really good point. He said, our game is a great game, and when you're going well, it's fun. It's great to be a part of. At the other end, when it's not going well, it is tough, and he's been under pressure for a long time. It's a high-performance environment. They haven't reached the expectations of the club and what the NRL needs, and it's probably just time for them to go in a different direction. Like, obviously, the losing streak at the back end of last year, you start this season winless. It was only a matter of time if they kept their current form, and the Dragons have made the decision to move on, and you can't really blame them as a club to be looking for the future right now.
Yeah, I think this is no surprise to anybody in the game. Just on the press conference and the point you make, well, yeah, sports is a business, but a business like no other. It is very highly emotional. It's not just a set and forget trust fund that you can, get access to in 20 or 30 years' time. We are dealing with the immediate. A week's a long time in sport. Let's look at the Bulldogs, just to caveat. Look, last week, how good you beat Penrith. Now Monday, it's like as if you lost that game. It was unlosable. But just back to the Dragons, I think it had to be done. Moving on, Coach Flanagan and GM of football, Benny Hiran, they were left with almost no choice, especially after that dismal performance on Saturday. Attention will turn to where we go next, or where they go next in terms of the appointment of both of those roles in the long term and the interim. I do think there's bigger issues at stake there at that football club.
Just in terms of the situation and the pressure you play under as a player when you're not going well, you're losing games, your coach is under pressure. You could see that in the performance, not only like the lack of confidence, they're definitely working hard, but it's just not coming off. But the frustration, like towards the end of the game, I know it got a little bit niggly, but like some of the actions of the players, and Jaden Sewell is a perfect example.
Yeah.
That you could just see that's just frustration bubbling out of him, emotion. Like he knew he was going in for, a big tackle, but it was almost at the point where I don't care. Like, I'm just going to come out, and that's why he got it wrong. He was frustrated, emotional, probably not going to do the right thing, but I'm just going to do it anyway.
You know what though, Wade? Like you say that, and that's highlights a point there of someone that's moving on at the end of the season. So really, to be fair to Jaden Sewell, he could have cashed out a long time, or checked out rather, a long time ago. Look, and he's leaving. He's probably the most intimidating player there. There was a moment where Latrell Mitchell absolutely bitches Terrell Sloan. No one does anything.
Yeah.
Like, I know we don't like to see the push and the shove, and look at the end of the game, the Tigers and Broncos. Like, it's not a great look, but at least no Dragons player did anything. They just looked at Latrell and was like, oh, okay. Are you going to stand up for that?
Yeah.
Are you going to stand? Are you going to let you that? Like, he literally ragdolled him, and he's just illegally. It's like, what? Why is no one getting in Latrell's face?
Yeah, that playing group just seemed so disconnected and lost. Like Deval Holmes, Luke Keary said that's the worst performance he's ever seen on a footy field.
Yeah, and again, they would be working hard. And the Jaden Sewell point, it's not as if I was making that he doesn't care. But
Yeah.
he in his mind, he knew that was high risk. And normally,
at least he's trying something.
But normally you go, okay, high risk, like you take a bit of care with it. But he just got to the point with his emotion, I think, that he just went, I'm just going on with it anyway, and he got it wrong, right? So he's going to be sitting on the sideline. But yeah, they're all down on confidence. Like they're in a rut, and it's hard because no one's gonna let up. No other team's gonna care about their situation. It's like, well, they're doing their job too. They want the 2 points. Like, so the Dragons, listen, they've made this decision. I think they've made it in the hope and the best interest that they can move forward and try and start to turn things around with a fresh voice. And I suppose you look at the example of Manly. They made the decision. Kieran comes in, that fresh voice cuts through. The pressure leaves the club, and they turn it around. Even Newcastle. I know they lost yesterday against the Roosters, but a positive start to the year. They've been missing some key players, but that new coach, Justin Holbrook, fresh voice, fresh hope, fresh motivation. They're trying to turn the club around.
What went wrong for Shane Flanagan during this tenure? Is the Kyle Flanagan situation the biggest mark against him?
I think for me, he tried to replicate the model they did at the Sharks. With the recruitment of the older guys, the experienced guys, a little bit of help from the other clubs when they came off contract to pay their salaries. The hopes of bringing that experience across to hold the fort and give time for the younger guys to come through. But the inability to recruit other players to keep replenishing that roster and help keep the float steady, it just sort of put them in a holding pattern. And at the Sharks, like Flanno had a big advantage as he had Paul Gallen, and every year there was recruitment of not just experience but young guys as well who added to the team. So off the top of my head, the first year it was myself and Jeremy Smith who just won a premiership at the Dragons, and I was a young player. The next year it's an Andrew Fafita, but with Bo Ryan and Chris Hyington, experienced NRL players. The next year, well, actually, and Todd Carney, he even managed to recruit Todd Carney.
Mm.
The next year, it's Luke Lewis. The year after, Michael Ennis, Jimmy Maloney, Ben Barber, and then while he recruits that, young guys like Val Holmes, Ricky Latelli, Jack Bird, Tasai Feki. So it was a really good mix, but at the center of it always was Gow.
Mm.
And Gow had that pulling power, that star power that people wanted to go across there and play. Losing Ben Hunt early, like their marquee man, it didn't make it easy for him. And I think they just got stuck in a holding pattern. And those experienced players, they didn't really do a good job of steadying the ship. And there wasn't enough time to put that burden on the younger players that they still need time to develop.
It's probably a number of issues, isn't it? Usually it is, and they compound one another. Look, no doubt there was a level of improvement in taking over from Griffin, but I think there's a number of situations that had given his time over again, he would change. I think he would have dug in a bit deeper to keep Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax. They are two stars. The Dragons are devoid of stars. They don't have star players. Those two are star players. You got to be very, very. You've got to be very careful when you allow that to happen. You've got to you've got that contingency plan. Okay, we're losing Ben and Zach, but I'm bringing in these guys. They didn't replace those two players. Like they didn't replace their halfback. If you're going to let your halfback go, have a replacement. Not your son, and not unless your son's Nathan Cleary.
Mm.
They didn't do that. Wade, to your point about the recruitment of those experienced guys, I think Flanno recognised there was a bit of a leadership void there at the club, and then I think some of his criticism of Ben was around his lack of leadership. That's not Benny's strength. So bringing those guys around him, and then those experienced guys that he did bring to the club, the ones you're talking about were, I'm guessing, were a little bit younger and still had their best football. They could still play their best football. The ones that he's brought in at the Dragons, the best football was behind them. Like Gutherson is always going to try really hard, but his best years are behind him. Same with Val. Same with Cook. Like that, that's like the same happened to me. Like if when the Dragons picked me up at 31 or 32, my best football was behind me.
Played really well for the Dragons.
But my best football was behind me. They probably could have squeezed 1 or 2 years out of me. And they knew that. But they brought these players in and their best football behind me. And then when you're losing, you don't just fall off the cliff. Like you're floating in space.
Yeah.
You've got no forces working on you.
I think this tenure will probably, the first thing people will think of, unfortunately, is the Kyle Flanagan situation. That's the reality. And especially when you think that they haven't, it seems like they've recruited or not recruited key spine players in order to protect Kyle's path to first grade.
It's always, a hard situation. And, kudos to them for putting themselves in that situation. They wanted that challenge. It hasn't worked out, but I couldn't think of anything worse than coaching my son. We've seen it work really once. right? Ivan Cleary, Nathan Cleary. And Nathan's a pretty special player. Like, in my opinion, will probably be on that Immortals list when the time comes. But we've seen issues in the past. Brad Arthur went through it.
To be fair with Arthur, though, Jake was coming in. He wasn't starting.
Yeah.
I felt for Jake. Like he was like the third choice half.
But even still, like they still went through it. And
Exactly.
They still went through it. And then, the situation, I know you're losing games. Of course, there's so much scrutiny at all times in our game, but particularly when you're not going well, there's more scrutiny, there's more pressure, and to have that as well to deal with, there's enough to deal with anyway.
Probably some of the commentary as well. I'm just thinking back to some of those comments from Coach Flanagan where he's saying he's in our best 3 players each and every week. I don't know if you say that. And that might be true.
He's our best halfback, they said as well.
Yeah, that might be true. He might be doing a decent enough job, but I don't think you need to say. You're not all right. Well, you're not naming your other 2. You're naming him, and you're being defensive as him, and often to the fans and even to other players. Like maybe he wasn't in my top 3. It's some of the it's hot topic. It was hot topic in the media, and he almost had to defend him. But I just think he maybe could have used his words a little bit differently.
Now, boys, we've got to bring in a man who was at the press conference this morning, which we will unpack the press conference as well because there's a lot to discuss from what was said by both the CEO and the chairman. But Danny Weidler joins us. Danny, thanks so much for jumping on.
No problem at all, boys.
What did you make of it? In my eyes, it was one of the worst press conferences I've ever seen. What did you make of it?
Well, look, it left a few questions that needed answering, didn't it? First of all, we found out that Shane Flanagan was by sort of a mutual agreement, which I didn't think we all expected. We thought that Shane would be sacked. So I guess that was news in itself. But the fact that as we're standing here and recording the podcast, we haven't got an interim coach at the Dragons after they've moved on from Shane Flanagan is quite bizarre. I don't think I've encountered that in all of my reporting career where you either haven't had someone straight away. Like we might find out tomorrow, fair enough, but it's just weird that they moved on from a coach and then all of a sudden we still don't have someone who's taking his place before what I would say is their biggest game of the year, traditionally, the Anzac Day game. So it's unusual. Charlie, you called it that. I probably won't go that far. I'll just say it was unusual. And also the fact that I found interesting from a media perspective was the fact that Andrew Lancaster came out and said there had been some big agendas in the reporting of Shane Flanagan's situation at the Dragons. And I guess we'll unpack that in days to come. Right now, that's probably not the main part of the story, but it's part of the story, isn't it?
Danny, it sure is, and that did seem a bizarre addition to the press conference. I mean, look, it is what it is. It's the game of rugby league, and I don't think anybody could sugarcoat the situation at the Dragons at the moment. Just on that interim role, does it, like for me, it sounded as if the Dragons don't actually know, which again is another issue. I think there's 2 obvious candidates. For me, this should have been on the radar for a number of weeks now, and I think a good organisation would have gone, okay, if we're going on to hit this button or pull this trigger and remove Coach Flanagan from his duties, then the domino effect is it's Young or it's Innes.
Yeah, well, it clearly says that there are elements of the club who don't want one or either or both of those people. I wrote an extensive column on Sunday detailing some of the reasons why Dean Young is not wanted as the head coach of the Dragons. And it wasn't an article I set out to write because I thought that Dean Young had a lot of qualities that could be the head coach of the Dragons. But the more I sort of, once I started to make a couple of calls around it, and particularly around the fact that there was concern about a Zoom interview that he had a few years ago and other such things, it led me to believe that there's not an appetite for him to be the head coach. That doesn't mean he won't be the interim coach. And that will be up to Dean Young whether he wants to accept that position, because if it does pan out like that, it's like you basically got a limited lifespan as coach, don't you? Like if you're joining as an interim and not as without the potential of being the head coach as well. And Mick Ennis, I definitely think the Dean Young thing is, I think it's still possible he'll be the interim. But again, I'm speaking to you around midday on the day of the removal of Shane Flanagan. Then I guess Michael Ennis, the issue there is he still works in the media, doesn't he? And he'd have to do what I guess Kieran Foran did, is that remove himself from the media and then become the person who's going to be at least the interim coach. And look, I don't know whether that's going to happen. I can't guarantee that's going to happen. So I'm sorry if I'm a bit distracted. I'm standing in a car park waiting for players of the Dragons team to come out. And I might
You're a
have to try and
multitasker, Danny. You're a multitasker.
Try and get a chat with them. I'm just watching the door open and shut from the Dragons. There's also drilling going on as well. So yeah, I'm trying to keep my thought process clear. But the Dean Young thing is fascinating for me. They don't want a repeat of the what they had with the Flanagan family, where they felt that was a difficult situation for the club to deal with, and they don't want a young situation where Craig's obviously got a history and a position still with St George. And then there's Dean, who's obviously made a name for himself as a very good player and a premiership winner as well.
Hey, Danny, have you had the opportunity yet to maybe speak to Shane Flanagan? Because during the press conference, we heard, duty of care and the pressures that were in and around him over the last few weeks, and the fact that it was a mutual agreement. I just wonder with the timing, heading into the Anzac round and then a bye, they haven't got an interim coach sorted. I just wonder how much, Flanagan's own decision-making was around it too, in terms of agreeing to walk away and, put the future of the club first.
Yeah, look, I've tried Shane a number of times this morning. I haven't heard back yet. I may or may not. I don't know. But there has definitely been that has been the strong line that's coming out of the Dragons is duty of care. So they obviously have a clear opinion that Shane was struggling. And I think, Wade, you could see, as someone who knows him well, I've never seen him look worse. And I'm not saying that in a disparaging way. I just mean more stressed or more under pressure than he has over the last 3 or so weeks. Like I saw him in Vegas and he looked a lot better then than he did even after a few weeks of this competition. So the Dragons have obviously seen that and can see that there's an issue for them that they have to deal with. And that's exactly what they're sticking with. They're saying as a duty of care. There was a meeting, I can tell you, yesterday. That's when it all went down between Andrew Lancaster, Shane Flanagan, and his agent, Isaac Moses. And at that meeting, it was decided from both parties that Shane wouldn't continue in the role anymore. And I could imagine as part of that meeting, there would have been a significant settlement that was reached for Shane so he could go off into the sunset and perhaps try his coaching career somewhere else.
Danny, I reckon I'm just thinking back to Coach Flanagan's career. I reckon the Cronulla stuff in around the Asada cases would have
2014.
Yes.
2014 would have, that would have stretched his how can I phrase it, like
Resilience.
Yeah, resilience and ability to cope more than this situation, and it is part of the job. It's so rewarding, but it'd be so difficult. I want to turn attention to some of the things you said around Dean Young and the Flanagan. You don't want young. For me, I think this is completely different. I think Dean Young has proven himself to be one of the leading coaches. He's moved. He's been to Townsville there with the Cowboys for a number of seasons. Come back to the Dragons. I think he's proved that he deserved a crack. Where, respectfully speaking, with Kyle Flanagan, he is a 14, and he's not in the upper echelon of halves. And this is no knock on him. any player that gets in the door of the NRL, for me, deserves credit, but he's not a starting 7. So I think those situations are different. But in terms of the attire to an interview, if you're not a football person, you're not making this decision. Are these the business side of the organization, or what should be the business side of the organization, meddling with what should be a football decision?
Well, I don't know if it's meddling, James. I think the Dragons board are making decisions based on what they have to do. Like that's their job. There goes Andrew Lancaster, guys. I don't know if you can see him.
Yeah. If you got to go bounce him, you can do that as well, Danny. Don't worry.
Well, you know what? He's on the board at Channel 9. I don't know if I'm going to be bouncing Andrew Lancaster today because I'm pretty fearless. I may not have a job tomorrow. So,
yeah. Well, you're always welcome here, Danny. You're always welcome at Triple M.
Thank you.
We'll get you in full time if that happens.
I didn't miss the scoop just then. So we already heard from Andrew there. So, sorry. And so,
but Danny, sorry. When I said meddling, I mean like. If
they've got decisions to make.
So they do. But sorry, what I was referring to is, okay, we're going to make this football decision, but I'm going to take into account what Dean Young is wearing on this Zoom interview.
Yeah. So James, that's
not a direct correlation with results. That's more of a business side. That's a business, a business,
or even just a bit of nitpicking because it just suits their agenda.
Yeah. So look, that's that. When I was told that about. I don't know, 10 days ago, right? And I thought, okay, I didn't have time to properly investigate it for my column last week. So that really, the fact that I was being told that Dean Young turned up in a training singlet, which I want to make very clear is actually a polo shirt. But that was what I was being told, a training singlet for a Zoom interview for a job position. That made me think was more the fact that I was hearing that, which was the story, that said to me that people at the Dragons, for whatever reason, don't want Dean Young to be the coach. Whether they might have to copy his interim coach, and who knows, he might do a brilliant job. But there is definitely a section at the Dragons who, for whatever reason, don't want him there, and that was a way into the story. So I followed that up, and then I found out other things like the Young and Young, like the fact that there was a drama around Molo leaving the club, and Dean Young had worn privately, not so much publicly, but definitely privately, some of the heat for that. I checked out what that situation was. So initially the inference was that he had somehow told Molo that Francis Molo, that he needed to go drinking with the boys and all that sort of thing, and he was not drinking for his own reasons, and that offended him. Well, the truth of the matter was that at leadership meetings, it was pointed out to him that he needed to be more of a leader, and that included with social activities and those sorts of things to be part of the group more. And that didn't, look, from what I was told, that didn't mean he had to drink with them, just be more involved socially with them. So again, that was something that came up. And the other thing that gets thrown out is that Dean Young's been at the Dragons when the Dragons haven't been good. So they're all, the fact, again, I was hearing all of these things says to me that people want me to hear those things. You know what I'm saying? People wanted me to hear those things because I'm not some sleuth who, uncovers things that people don't always want me to hear. It's usually what people want you to hear. And that means that there's a reason you're hearing it, and that's because they didn't want him to be the head coach. Whether he does a great job as interim, if that happens, and then does a Kieran forward and forces himself into being the head coach, I don't know. But there's definitely rather than meddling, there's definitely an element who have been. I say there's leaking going on. You hate a snitch, James. I know that you don't like snitches, but so that's part of it.
Well, Danny, thanks so much for joining us. I'm sure on Wednesday's episode you'll be unpacking it in great detail, giving us all the insights.
Illawarra versus St. George. I just told you.
Yeah, well, that would be fascinating listening as well.
You know what? This is where you envy people like Danny, and like basically his job for the next 24 hours is to wait outside the gong, and you
Can
get
I
to
show
that.
you where I am, boys?
Well, we can't actually see you, but
we can see. Our listeners can. Our listeners can.
Yeah, show us where you are, Danny.
So I'm just right now. I don't know whose cars these are, but I'm giving you a circle of you. That's the Dragons car park, and that's the door. And that's where, and this is me, and I could be here for hours. So thank you.
Well, you know what? This is where like that debate you would have about should I go to the toilet, should I go and get a coffee, and it always happens. You'll go to the toilet or get a coffee, and a player will come out, and you'll be like, why didn't I just wait?
Guess what? No coffee, no toilet.
Uber Eats a coffee, and maybe they do deliveries of Portaloos or something. Get one down there, mate. It'll be worth it.
There's a business for you, James. Portable Uber Eating Portaloos. There you
I
go.
like it.
I like. Danny, did you appreciate the welcome in the press conference to the Bruce Gordon Centre as well? Good morning and welcome to the Bruce Gordon Centre.
I've been here before, Charlie, you smart ass.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we'll let you go, mate. We'll let you go. Have a great day. Good luck.
You want me to be working at Triple M full time, don't you? I can tell where
That's
you're
right.
going.
That's right. That's
Channel
right.
7 recruit.
All right.
See you,
Take care,
boys.
Danny. We'll speak to you soon.
See you, mate.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Now, as always, this show is brought to you by the great team at Liquorland. Absolutely legendary. But legend's a term that gets thrown around a fair bit, Wado.
Well, you like to throw it around a fair bit, but
Yeah.
there's no doubt about Liquorland. They are legends.
They are legendary because they've been helping Aussies raise a glass for over 50 years. The legendary Liquorland has been filling fridges for all occasions, from cozy nights in to footy parties to last-minute dashes when you forget to bring a bottle, because a legendary country deserves a legendary bottle shop who bring the epic value and legendary drinks on your Liquorland. Legendary. Choose to drink wise. Jimmy, I'm sure the Bulldogs fans would have been drinking wise after that performance.
Oh, I was dreading coming in today. What?
Particularly after a Warriors win as well.
Yeah,
We know
what a week is a long time in sport, isn't it? And with Coach Flanagan being, mutually agreed to part ways, I thought we might not get to any football. But after the amazing win against Penrith, all hope is restored. And then, that was just not good enough, was it? I think the emotion of the day boosted para, but a lot of Dogs fans are now, they were jubilation last week, and now they're really angry. This is this rivalry as well between the two football clubs, and to be out enthused on the day will really hurt.
Old Boys Day is always special for Parramatta. They make a really big deal over it. I think all the players actually went to the captain's run.
Yeah, and some of their legends too, like those premierships back in the late 80s, early 90s. Like when those guys come in to any club, the people who walked the path before you, had success, made the club what it was, and now you go out there and represent that club. It does mean a lot to players. It resonates a heap, and no doubt they would have been up for the occasion. You got to give Parramatta credit too. Like some of their performances, like Will Petacini, amazing. Mitchell Moses, amazing. Josh at the back, probably. Like he had a strong game. Fox scoring tries, like we know he can. And then, as Jimmy said, just the Dogs not quite there with their intensity and their attitude. It just always goes to show in the NRL, you need to be on every week. There's no down weeks. If you just turn up and you're not quite right in a particular area, and a lot of the time it is around the attitude, the fundamentals, your aggression, your defense. It's only small margins. Like you only have to be a little bit off, and if a team is ready to go, that they can pull your pants down. And an undermanned Parramatta team too. Let's not forget the injuries they had.
Yeah.
And some of their players, they really stood up. It was a good win for them.
Yeah, and you can't dig yourself out of that hole once. If you don't turn up to a game with that mindset and that intent with everything you're going to do, you can't 15, 20 minutes in, slap yourself into that and shake it off and then go. It's, Coach Geraldo, he was pissed off.
In terms of that, Jim, it's a funny one, isn't it, right? Because most weeks are pretty consistent with teams. Like your preparation is consistent. Everyone tries to make it as consistent as possible to give yourself every opportunity to go out there and play well. But it's like a secret magic ingredient.
Oh.
And you remember back in the sheds, right? When we were before a game, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet, but sometimes you look around and you just know there's that feeling.
Yeah.
We're on today, right? We're on. Like it's hard to describe. It's just a sense that you have. It's like we're going to go out there and we're going to play well today. It might not get the result, but you just know you're on. But then other times you have that sense of a little bit of dread. It's like, something doesn't feel right. What's going on? We're missing something. And It's amazing how you can have the same week, consistent preparation, and just that feeling on game day. If you were a coach and you could, put that in a bottle, you'd be the best coach in the world.
Also, Wade, that decision as a leader of, I'm sensing it, but am I wrong? Do I say something and say, hey, boys, let's switch on here. But then, if you say it, some players might be going, I didn't know this. I'm doing my normal. I'm pretty tuned in. Hang on. Then they can start to second guess themselves. Obviously, you always go with, it's better to say something than to say nothing. But when you're having to mention the fact that something smells a bit off here, it usually, you know what follows.
The best one is after a bad performance, but like the coaches can get pretty heavy and disappointed. Right. And speaking of Flanno, like he was great at it. You go back, like you put a poor performance, but you go back to the sheds and you go, I sensed it before the game.
Yeah.
You weren't switched on. I could feel it. You were mucking around at training on Friday. I knew this was coming. Go home and look in the mirror and bring your attitude on Monday.
So good. So good. The Dogs now 3-3 and the bye after 7 rounds. I want to ask you though, 32-16 win over Penrith, 38-20 defeat over the Bulldogs. Which of those games is closer to the truth of that team?
Oh, the Penrith game.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
without doubt.
Because, the season, every week's an audition, right? You're trying to get to the finals. That's where you want to play. Every week's an audition, and you get some weeks right and you get some weeks wrong. But you always go to the best example of yourself. That's what we're striving for. That's what we can do when we get a right attitude, our training, game day performance. So you always go to that. And if you don't have a marker in the sand, like a real good performance, well, you're just hoping. Like you don't know. You don't actually know that you have the quality to get it done at the right time of the year. But the Bulldogs have showed themselves. Yeah, when we get it all right, we all play to our best and we nail the game plan, we're all dialed in, we can go with anyone. But if they haven't done that, like if our other team hasn't done that, they haven't got that marker in the sand. They don't actually know. They hope they have it when the time's right, but they haven't got any evidence that they've done it. Bulldogs have it. They have that game. They have that marker, and they can always look back to it. That's what we're trying to strive for and achieve each week. You're not going to get it right every week, but you can always look to that and go, yeah, we've got it in us. We just got to find a way to bring it out more consistently.
How much of like this craziness of this comp, like Parramatta had 50 on them put on by the Titans the week before, and then they beat a team that just beat the Panthers. How much of this like topsy-turvy league is down to the rule changes this year?
Oh, I think teams are still trying to figure it out a
Yeah.
little bit. They're still adjusting to the changes. But again, back to an athlete's mentality, and you only have to look at the Dolphins as well against Penrith. The week before, they were 2 weeks before they had a bye. It was pretty bad performance against Manly, right? They got to sit on that and stew on that for the Easter break. Don't get an opportunity because they have the bye to go there. They got to wait again to face Penrith, who are at the top of the table. They go down 18-0, and just that competitive nature eventually can come out. And you just need a few things in the game to go right for you and the momentum to swing with the new rules. Herbie Farnworth was outstanding. The Hammer had a few involvements. It's a week's a long time in rugby league. Jimmy said it earlier about the Dragons, but yeah, you can. I still remember, not playing well or having a poor performance, and how much it hurt me for the week, and how much you'd go out there and go, well, I'm gonna, make it up this week, and I'm gonna perform. And every player has that.
Also, I'm just thinking on the spot here. We watched Cronulla the week after Penrith, right? And they lost that game, obviously, but it took a lot out of them, and they were gone against the Dolphins. The Bulldogs had to put in a hell of a lot against Penrith. Now, whatever the result is, maybe it's just a post-Penrith hangover that you can't play with that level of intensity. That's gonna zap you. I'm not making excuses here, but maybe there's a trend there. Win, lose, or draw after Penrith, you're gonna be shot. Like whoever you play, whatever the result of the Penrith game, it'd be interesting to see what happens to the Dolphins this week. Will they be shot? I know that they've had that in their arsenal. Thinking to other teams that have lost against Melbourne.
Okay, so I know they lost the week before against the Broncos too, but the Penrith victory was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
And they haven't quite come back, have they?
And who did they play?
they've lost
Was
one
that the
in a
way they lost the Cowboys the week after that? I think they did. Yeah. So maybe that's the trend. Is if you're going to be up for Penrith, you're either going to get battered or you're going to have to give it your all in one way or another. But whatever happens next is a defeat or a poor performance.
One of the best performances of the weekend has to be the Broncos getting the win over the Tigers, 21-20. Great game. Great to watch.
Great game. And you have to listen, credit to the Broncos. They're missing some stars still. Reece Walsh not in. Payne got hurt in the first half. Tigers packed out stadium at Campbelltown. Like, there was a lot of support there. And Adam Reynolds, the old master, just had enough in him to guide that team around. A nice kick to Mariner and then the field goal to ice it. And they play well. They're still the premiers, so they're a big game team. And it felt like a big game, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And I would say still credit to the Tigers. Like, we're not their best performance, but they were up for the big game. Like, with all due respect, a lot of their young players and even their senior players, they haven't played in a big game like that for a while. And I think they held their gloves up well. It's a learning curve still for them. There was no shame in that loss. They could have been better in different moments and possibly got the result. But it's a good place for the Tigers to be. Like, to be involved on a Sunday afternoon in a sellout game.
Saturday night,
Saturday night, a sellout game, a big game. There was that feeling around it. That's what you want as a player. You want to play in the big games. And they haven't played in the finals for a long time. They're trending in the right direction. Got to give Benji credit, the whole playing group credit. Like, they're elevating that club, and there'll be more of those performances for them in the future if they keep going. And it's a good learning curve for them.
It is a huge learning curve. You're right there, Wade. Was a big game, and that's the practice that the Tigers are going to need, because they weren't that far away. They were favourites going into that big contest as well, and all things align for the Tigers. They'll get some bigger games at the latter part of the season as well, and it's what you do with this, because look, Broncos on demand. They had every reason not to turn up, Broncos, but they did. They went above and beyond. It was a Michael Maguire style performance where he got so much out of some fringe squad players, respectfully speaking. But the Tigers, that lack of concentration, just two moments that if Makasini's a fraction deeper and wider, Reynolds doesn't put that kick in. And he's only 18, so he will learn that, and he'll pick up on that, and the consequence of just drifting. That's why he just drifted in concentration. Our outside backs do that sometimes, and then the Tolty try, the player coming out of the ruck, that third defender, all he needs to do with 20 seconds on the clock is just get up. You're not going to have to make a tackle, because if you're there, if you're up, if you're connected to your defensive line, it takes a 5-second effort to get up there. Reynolds doesn't pass the ball inside to Tolty. You may be hanging out your backside, but just go up there and present this illusion that you have the ability to make a tackle. Reynolds passes it to the outside. And that's, again, just a small moment in the dying stages. Give Brisbane the lead in the second half. And, some brilliance from Adam Reynolds, exceptional. Xavier Willison, Katoni Staggs, and then really the game, there was a bit of fortune for the Tigers. I thought Brisbane left a couple out there as well.
Just on young Makasini, like, talk about the learning curve for the Tigers. That's the perfect example, right? It wasn't his best night. I hope he's not too hard on himself, because, again, it's his first occasion in a big game up against the defending premiers, playing a guy like Adam Reynolds and marking whoever he had to mark. But with the kicking game, he got caught short a couple of times, but he's playing Adam Reynolds. That's what you mean, Jimmy, in terms of concentrating and focus. You need to be on the whole time, because the moment you do switch off, someone like Adam will make you pay. And
he recognised it, doesn't he? Reynolds is a great reactive kicker to where the back line are. It's not premeditated. I don't think that was premeditated. I do think that they looked at that in video, though. You could tell by the reaction in the coach's box that, like, we got one there. We saw Makasini can maybe come in a little bit, a bit of a bounce pass, and then bang, bang, Reynolds gone.
Yeah.
And that it came off a bounce pass. So you can maybe that was the thing that drew his attention in. Because, why would you kick? You don't kick off a bounce pass, so I'll just wander in and shut down the shift.
Yeah, but with young players, but you just have to wear that.
Yeah,
They-
of course
they-
you. Yeah,
they-
yeah.
They're going to learn from that. And yes, again, it wasn't his best night, but nights like that will make him better in the long run. And I hope Benji sticks with him. I know he's probably not a winger as well, so there's
Yeah.
some positional issues there. Like you only have to think back to McLean, right? Who's having a great season this year. One of the best centers in form in the competition. The start of last year on the wing is a little bit at sea. Like it's a different position, and there's a little bit more technical stuff that goes to it. So Makasini, keep his head up. The Tigers keep their head up. Like it's not the result, but still a great performance, and hopefully bigger and better things for them to come.
Does this game prove that the Broncos are still the number one contender for Penrith with all the players they have out and they still can put in a performance like that?
Yeah, well, they're still the premiers. Like that gives you confidence as a player. They haven't been at their best, but again, they talked about the Bulldog and their marker in the scene. Like the Broncos' marker in the scene is the back end of last year. They know where that squad can go. They're dealing with some injuries, some personnel issues, but they'll get there. They'll be there in September.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I was never worried about the Broncos.
No, but are they still the number one contender?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. I thought that before the weekend anyway.
Because I think the Roosters have now jumped them into second on the premiership favourites, which is
Really?
yeah, they are. I saw it this morning. Yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, with the Roosters, they're getting the results, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all know they're not still at their best.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
that's
that's I could understand why there's some people getting in behind the Roosters because they still have so much improvement in them, but they're finding a way to win games. Even like yesterday against the Knights, they were good for probably 40, 50 minutes. And they let the Knights get out to a lead and they have the class to chase that down, but still plenty of improvement there. And it's like even Penrith, the Doggies, they proved that they're not immune to the momentum and the pressure if you can get them in that in that spot in a game. And the Dolphins that second half, again, they're not immune to it. If you can get the run of the ball, the momentum, and you can put pressure on them, you can find some chinks.
is Teddy a chance of getting picked for New South Wales? Like Dylan Edwards is obviously looking like he's back to his best. I know he got a bit of a knock in that game against the Dolphins and that affected his movement. But could James Tedesco be the one for New South Wales?
Oh, 100% he's good enough to play there. And I don't mind it. Grubby actually made a really good point last week, and I hadn't thought a whole lot on it. Like, Origin's still a fair while away.
It's closing in, though. We're about 6 weeks away now.
1 week's a big week, a long time in rugby league. Like, there's still plenty of time. Listen, I love Dylan Edwards at his best, at his fittest. He's so good in that Penrith machine. But Grubby's point was, because he actually had Tommy picked at fullback.
Yeah.
And his reasoning was they have Nathan Cleary and Isaiah Yeo. If they have Dylan Edwards, he just builds off that Penrith system, right? Because he's used to those voices. He knows what they're looking at. He'll just build. But Tommy, he'll build as well. But if he sees another option, he'll have the courage to overcall and take it away. And I think that's it's necessary probably at that level. They need someone to play away from Nathan every now and again because he's going to get so much pressure. He's the halfback. And I know Moses will do it. But if you have your fullback willing to go, okay, I see they've got Nathan covered, they've got Isaiah covered. How about I go over here and build off Moses? That could be a better style. So I'm not opposed to someone else playing fullback. Teddy's a great option. Like Tommy was a great option. It's so sad to see him do his hemi again. But like, there's going to be a bit of conversation around what they do and what style they want to play. Obviously, Laurie last year, they were fantastic in game one. Queensland, were excellent to come back and win the series. There might need to be a little bit tinkering with their thought process in how they're going to play and how they're going to attack this year.
Jimmy?
I think Teddy would definitely make a case for being New South Wales fullback. I mean, if we were just picking off this year alone, it's a struck match between him and Edwards. There's no wrong decision here. Like,
yeah, it's just hard on the other guy,
it's
isn't it?
just, and Trbojevic out of the race. But between those two, there's no wrong decision.
Overall, another team that had a great season and maybe could be considered one of the number one contenders is the New Zealand Warriors. They got another win this weekend. Joel said we have to talk about them. He wanted them top a show before we spoke about Shane Flanagan. Joel Harrison said
and
we need to come to the top with the Wars.
They beat a team that won by 50. last week. So I mean, what more can be said?
Barnett was very impressive though in his first game back, and he's another guy who's probably going to be sniffing around the Origin team. 17 runs, 165 metres, 23 tackles in 40 minutes.
It was his thumb, wasn't it, that he came back
Yeah.
from that injury?
Yeah.
So yeah, credit to him. Warriors building very, very nicely over there. Almost under the radar, but yeah, coming up against them, that forward pack is establishing themselves.
Well, and the bench too. Like
Yes.
they have like Barnett came off the bench, right? He made that impact. Jackson Ford, he's been playing close to 80 minutes.
He's been unbelievable.
Getting through a mountain of work, which allows them to be flexible with their bench as well. Like rotate the other middles and keep them fresh. And the power they have, like Labe and Halasima, even Leotawa in the centres. He was a dynamite on the weekend. A couple of really big defensive shots, powerful carries. They're just really well balanced. And talk about momentum. When they control the middle third and they get on a roll, they are hard to stop. They just got so many tackle breakers.
Did you prefer Chance at fullback over Tuapiki? Because they made that change late.
Yeah, they're sort of different players, aren't they? Chance is a bit more steady, a bit more experienced, and Tuapiki is a bit more of a live wire. I think it's going to be horses for courses. Maybe Chance was playing in the centres to allow room for Tuapiki, but the emergence again of Leotawa in the centres, they're good headaches to have.
Yeah.
Like, who's to say they make the grand final, right? What does his Andrew Webster's final team looks like? He probably doesn't even know yet. He knows the majority, but they'll figure this out on the journey. Sometimes they're forced changes for injury, suspension. And sometimes it just changes, horses for sort of courses.
Now, guys, we do it every week to finish a show on a Monday. The old I've seen enough, put a line through it, call your Jets. I'm sure the Dragons would have featured in probably some of these answers before, but they're obviously we've covered them enough. What have you guys seen enough from?
Probably the bunker. I defended them on the weekend. Gerds, welcome back, Gerds.
How good was Gerds in the Saturday show?
So good to have him back.
I love that man.
He almost went nuclear, and I defended the referees in the bunker. I said, I don't they've got a lot of rules. They've got a lot going on. You can understand a few things, but some of the decisions on the weekend, the bunker coming in for Emre Gula, like the late shot on Humphreys, the kickers just need to declare that they're kicking now. No pressure. You're not allowed to do that. Just say, I'm kicking it, and then you have to kick it. Like, you can't do anything. That irks me a bit.
Is the bunker just in your eyes too involved?
Yeah, and again, we spoke about the Hudson Young disallowed try. Like, it went up as a try. Looked for all money like a try. I said on the weekend, like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Just give it. It's a try. Just give it a try. Like, don't look for a reason not to give it a try if it looks like a try. I understand the bunker's there for the knock on in goal, like the big blunders. But if it's simple, just give it a try.
I've seen enough Ryan Girdler. Bring him back.
Bring him
on a
back,
basis.
yeah, I know.
So are you saying dump Nathan Highmarsh from the Saturday show, or who would you dump from the show?
I think you
one of them.
No. I'm
You
not
got-
saying-
you got
I'm
the
saying-
choice of
I'm
Wade
saying
Graham?
I think you've got to bring him in as alongside them, or create another show.
So you want a 5-person panel on Saturdays? You know, we have a little spot available on Fridays. Like, we don't always have a show plan on Fridays. Could be the Ryan Girdler show. What's grinding Girdler's gears?
Yeah.
That was a
Just
segment.
breathing.
We used to, because when I first started working outside, I worked with Ryan Girdler pretty much the whole time. Me and him were very close. We'd go get saunas together when we were away and things like that, and go to steam.
Was he into his breathing there?
He's into his breathing there. We would go to a steam room and do some different stuff, and we'd pretty much hang out when we were going to different states. But I always wanted him to do a segment, what's grinding Girdler's gears, because he works in coffee, grind the beans, and I could never get him to do it. I could never get him to do that segment. Because I said, mate, you're actually a really miserable man. You pretend to be happiness and all about wellness, but you're actually full of anger. So showcase that.
Yeah.
But no, he never wanted to. But what a shit story that was.
It's funny. Gerds had some great input. We did the Believe It or Not segment.
Yeah.
And one of Tony's questions was, believe it or not, Nathan Highmarsh is the best player ever to never win a premiership. And then it's like at that statement you think, oh yeah, he could be, right? And within 2 seconds, I said Wally Lewis. Gerd said Steve Rogers. And I think Riccio said Andrew Ettinghausen. And then Tony pulled out the list. There's some good names. I don't even think Hindy makes the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You could do a best 13 of like players who didn't win a premiership. James Graham in the middle there.
Maybe.
Well, he won plenty over in the Super League.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll count
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Anything you want to put a line through?
Nathan Highmarsh has been the best player to ever win a premiership.
No, I'm gonna leave that one. I've got one for Cool Your Jets, so.
Do you want? I want to say I'll put a line through South making the 8. I reckon they fall away
What?
and miss the 8.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think South end up missing the 8
No.
come September. They're 4-2 at the moment, but just got a feeling that they're going to slip away. Anything we want to cool our Jets on?
I want to cool my Jets on the referees giving penalties for dissent when you're fighting for a quick play of the ball and you're being asked a question by the ginger Corey Horsburgh. Like, that's not a penalty. Come on. Like, if you can't accept players claiming penalties or claiming decisions, I'd love to see how they're going to treat Mitchell Moses and James Tedesco this next month of football.
Do you think there was a warning about before that? Do you think maybe? In the
Oh,
line
look,
of play-
I don't know, but Wade, like, he's all over him and he gets up and he asks, and he basically just asks a question like, just let him play the ball.
Well, and Ricky didn't miss after with his press
Yeah,
conference.
just let him play the ball.
It wasn't even like he brought up the slowing the ruck down as a general rule, and I think a lot of coaches do that with Melbourne, right? But I think it was more having a shot at maybe certain individuals possibly getting away
Yeah.
with a little bit more.
Like, I was listening
Harry
to
Munster.
some of the commentary around. It's like, oh, Corey Horsburgh owes his teammates. He doesn't. He shouldn't owe them. Like, they got that wrong.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that as well. Well, great show, boys. I'm happy with both of you. You did a great job, as always. The Graham's Trust, leading us.
Oh,
With
pleasure,
fire on
Charlie.
a
Good
Monday.
to be
Oh,
back.
pleasure.
I missed last Monday. It's good to be back.
I know. Oh, did you miss 2 Mondays or just last
Nah,
Monday?
well,
Oh,
we
he
do
got
it
away with
Wednesdays.
him missing last week to just get on the piss and watch the
I
Masters.
didn't
Oh, yeah,
I
that
didn't
is.
get-
That is
We forgot to bring
disgraceful.
that up.
I didn't get on the alcohol, mate.
Okay.
If I did, I would have went to Liquorland.
Yep.
But I did watch the golf. But I
Yeah.
watched it.
What, you watched
also,
golf sober?
I watched Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
You must be like super keen fan. You'd be like,
Me,
somebody,
I'm going
like, have you got your
golf,
players' cards? Can
rodeo.
you sign this? Rory!
Mate, Rory's my favourite. I don't follow many sports people anymore. Like when I was younger, I used to love sports figures, but Rory, I'd fangirl over Rory if I seen him.
How far would you go?
I'd like accost him,
Would you get a
get a
selfie?
photo. I'd get a photo with him, 100%.
Would you get him to
I'd
sign
buy
anything?
McGuinness too if he was keen.
I reckon he would
He
be.
would be keen.
Mate, why don't we put this to Liquorland? Why don't they send you to the Masters next year? And it could be a partnership that happens. It's Liquorland partnering up with Wade Graham and Triple M NRL
And some cans of Guinness.
and some cans of Guinness. And the whole
Oh,
thing
actually,
is you
Guinness
take a
out of a
6-pack, you take 6-pack of Guinness over to the Masters, and the goal is to have a Guinness with Roy McIlroy.
Oh,
and
let's do it. I'm keen
Liquorland
for
will
that.
send you.
I'm
Okay,
wait,
fine.
oh, no.
I'll keep that for sure.
I'm going to go to the rodeo instead.
No bad second option.
I'll see you boys next week.